Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my web tech project on database development. So for the second portion, I'm going to show you how to create a basic database. And before I started to type everything, I wanted to give you a heads up of kind of what it's going to look like final project. So this is a database called Beverages that I created. And right here is a table within the database. So this is where our information is being stored. This would be some sort of restaurant style database. So right now I'm going to do an inventory for a store. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to create the database. So as I talked about earlier, this is going to require specific SQL. So here we go. Right here, socks is going to be the name of my database. And then create database, all capital letters, create socks. Then you click enter. Underneath it just says query is okay, meaning that it went through. And now we're going to want to use that database we just created. So you type in use, all capital letters, and then socks, which is the name of our database. So the database has been changed, and now we're using the socks database. So right now we created a database. There's nothing in it, but it's created. So now we're going to create a table within the database. So we use the SQL for create table. We're going to call it inventory. And then we're going to have different sections of our table. So the type of socks, the size of the sock, which color it is, and how many we have in stock. Alright. So what's important here, this is going to be the name of the section in our table. So where it says ID up here, our first one's going to say type, then size. What's important right here is the text and ints. Very similar to Java. When you're coding in Java, you have chars, ints, and you can't have certain types mixed. So text is always going to be letters, ints are going to be numbers. And that's just on the very basics of creating a database. So I'm going to click enter here. Query's okay. And we're good to keep moving on. We're still in the socks database as it says right here. What I wanted to bring up here was the text and ints, the SQL data types. Text means you can go up to 65,535 characters in your text. So you could type a really long sentence into your database and it will save it. Int, you can have -2 billion to 2 billion in numbers. Again, really large numbers to use. I won't go into it too much, but I'll upload this paper along with it. But there are many different types besides text and int, all varying different sizes. For example, if you know your numbers only go up to 5, you're not going to want to use int because you're going to save 2 billion in space for 5, the number 5. You'd want to use something like tinyint, which only maxes out at 128. Of course, for this example, it's not that important, but as a reference guide, I'll upload that. So we've created our table, and again, the table is within the database. So next we're going to want to put things into our table. So then you use capital insert into, and then we're inserting it into the table name inventory, and then values is all capital, and these are the values that are going to go into the table. So the type of sock, again, I just chose a random article of clothing as if we're using a store. The size, let's go with 1. What color is it? Doesn't matter at this point, but so just randomly white. And how many white socks do we have in stock? Let's say we have 8 pairs. So again, it's important to want to match up. So text, crew, the size is going to be a 1. So it would come back with an error if we put in quotation marks size 0NE or ONE. So we're going to go ahead and click enter. And we're queries okay, so we're good to keep going. So next type of sock. And after this example, I've already typed this up in another file, so I'll start copying and pasting just so you guys don't have to watch me type all afternoon. Alright, so that one's all set. Important to remember when building a database, it doesn't have spell check, so if I spell gray the wrong way, I'm going to have to go back in later and fix it. Other things to keep in mind, where I have everything in capital, it is capital sensitive, so you're going to want to be on your toes with that. It's also, if I make a spelling error, so say I spell inventory wrong. It's going to come back with an error. So this one is error 1146, table socks.inventory, it doesn't exist. So I'll come over to my other file here. And this is just adding more data to our table so we don't have a table of 2. And again, for the sake of time, I don't want you guys to have to sit here. Alright. So now we have all the data we want into our table. We're going to do the next SQL select star, and in MariaDB, star means all. So I'm going to select all from the table called inventory. And these are all this pairs of socks that we had just typed in. Alright, so congratulations, we just created our first database and our first table inside our database. So if you wanted to, this is where we're still in the database socks. Table's called inventory, so we could create another one called inventory 2 and do different types of shirts. And then create another one for pants and so on and so forth, so you kind of get it. So some other things I wanted to go over real quick while I still have the time. So we have 2 reds, gray, white. Well, I forgot magenta. So I'm going to go and I want to add to the table. So I'm going to go insert into, just like up here, inventory, values, Anko 1, 1, magenta 12. And we're all set. So even though the table is created, we can still go back and add more. And again, if this is a store or anything like that, it's going to be something you're going to want to be aware of. And there we go. And now magenta's in stock. So now say you're reordering your supply. You're going to want to do something. Select all from the table called inventory, where in stock, and this again, in stock is our section right here. Let's say you want to know if there's going to be less than or more than or equal to. So say we're in stock, how many are at 3? Because at 3 we're going to reorder. So go ahead and type that, and it comes back with our 2 pairs of red socks, 2 styles, and they're coming at 3. And you can do this with almost anything. You could have done it with which ones are called crew, which ones are knee, how many are left, the sizes. And this is the part where I mentioned in the first video about being able to recall information. Now, last thing I want to show, and this is the permanent, say there's something in there I don't like. For example, delete from inventory. So what I don't like with this, sorry, hold on one second. Say I didn't want the magenta number. So now I'm going to delete it from the inventory, and we're all set. I am running out of time on the program, so I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm going to upload this as well, so you just have the SQL you need, the types of ints, and that is your first database you created, your first table, and you can add from it, you can delete it, and you can move, and this is just a good way to get started, a quick demo, and it's not overly complicated to do, but once you realize this is only 4 or 5 sections, once you're looking at bigger things like Amazon.com, you're looking at Walmart, Target, their databases are huge. Facebook's another one. That's going to take a lot of upkeep and a lot of really well done coding to keep track of it all. But this was just a quick intro. I want to thank you for watching.